And
I will make. Go ahead.
we're live. All right.
Okay,
So,
we're like,
welcome everyone back to the Purple Creator Show. If you don't know by now, I'll be your co host for this episode. You can call me the Pug. And with me,
Andre Costa, the founder of PurpleTrader.
yep. So, today's I think it's the fourth episode of the Purple Creator Show. In case you missed out last week, Andre touched upon some great social tokens involved in various areas, such as the creator economy, fashion, and wealth preservation. Those tokens included cabin, robot, and whale. We also brought Teddy, a Web3 enthusiast who is a contributor to the Meebits DAO and a community manager at the NFT project Square Bears. Can't say enough about how much I enjoyed speaking with Teddy. You can tell that Teddy is very passionate about this space and knowledgeable. And I can't wait to share the videos when they're done. Andre, if there's anything you want to add on that.
Yeah, I also enjoy it a lot. I speak with Teddy. By the way, I think the winners of Web3 game is gonna be games. You know, that's game industries probably are gonna be the winner of this Web3. So pretty excited was pretty excited with the conversation we had.
Couldn't agree more. That's a topic that will be a conversation for another time in terms of gaming. But this week we decided to go back to some of the tokens that we already discussed in the past, but never got the chance to discuss them live. These social tokens are some of my favorite in the space at the moment from a utility aspect. And a little bit later today, we're also going to be interviewing Mel, a poet and a facilitator of the African NFT Community, an incubator that advocates for African artists on the continent in the diaspora. For those that don't know, Africa is becoming a hotspot for blockchain technology. I'm excited to bring her on board as she'll discuss how being a poet led her down into this Web3 space. Andre, do you
Super excited.
to touch upon the social tokens of the week?
Yeah, super excited to speak with Mel today. Let's talk a little bit about the social tokens of the week. Yeah, so the first token, imagine a community token with just Bieber, Eminem, Neymar, Tom Brady, Steve Curry, Logan Paul, among other celebrity as member. So do you want to know what this token is? It's ApeCoin, which is a utility token of the successful Bored Ape Yacht Club community. They gained popularity when this celebrity that means they purchase the Bored Ape NFTs. For those that are new into the space, those NFTs, it's a collection of 10,000 unique NFTs. And the social tokens Ape is an opportunity to open up the community to those that believe in the vision but cannot afford to buy a Bored Ape NFTs for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ape owners will be able to participate in the ApeCoin DAO, where members can vote on proposals to allocate funds. Additionally, holders will have exclusive access to the ecosystem, such as games, events, and other services. They also incentivizes third-party developers to incorporate ApeCoin into their products, games, and participate in the ecosystem. For instance, a game called Beijing Bananas is using Ape as an in-game currency. Recently, ApeCoin announced that Gucci, the brand, will become one of the major brands to allow customers to play in-app store purchase with their coins. So you're going to be able to pay Gucci products with ApeCoin, which is going to be super interesting. Current price is $7 with an impressive market cap of $2 billion. You should definitely check this out. The second token is Bankless Bank. It's a token to support the bankless movement. The DAO helps to coordinate activity and award community members for participation in the bankless and decentralization movement. The community works to help people to discover technologies and of the decentralized finance world through education, media, and culture. One of the critical features is the guilds that organize skill sets in a single location. Some examples are not limited to writers guilds, research guild, and legal guild. It's one of the critical reasons for the rapid success and growth of Bankless DAO in the past 2 years. Anyone in the DAO can be in one of two positions, or a member or a non-member. And some of the utilities included access to resources, private chat, voting power, giveaways of tokens, NFTs, and exclusive content. The current market cap is $4 million. Finally, the last token that we're going to talk today is FWB, Friends with Benefits DAO. They have more than 3,000 members, including artists, builders, and thinkers around culture and crypto industry. Widely recognized as one of the most innovative DAOs, decentralized organizations in the space. They describe themselves as a digital city. The vision for FWB is to promote the power of Web3 and make things happen. Since its launch, the community members have already launched a virtual music studio, exclusive events, and a real-time community dashboard, grants opportunities, and others. Early this year, Alex Zhang, a member of the community, released an update that discussed some of the incentives and goals of the community that they wish to achieve in the second year. And one of the major talking points was an on-chain identity that will enable members to connect and move easily across the Web3 ecosystem. Members can search, engage with other members based on a shared community, indexes skills, and other points. Super interesting project that they are building. And they have a framework for the community that includes governance, board, team lead, contributors, anyone can buy Friends with Benefits token. That does not necessarily mean that you're going to get access to the DAO. In order to join the DAO, you need to apply. In a few current members, the board they're going to vote on your application. If accepted, and if you have enough tokens, then you're going to have access to the DAO. And they have two tiers, the local and global membership, depending on the participation level that you want to play. Price, it's current price is around $11 in a market cap of $7 million. Hope you enjoy it, the social tokens of the week. Thank you.
Andre, thank you for touching upon that. I see that Mel is in the stream. I'm going to bring her in a second. But before I do, just wanted to say Friends with Benefits is having it's called FWB Fest, a 3-day immersive conference and festival experience that they describe as the intersection of culture and Web3 that will take place from August 12th to the 14th. Check it out. I mean, people should just check it out. I think they're doing some great stuff in the space. I think for today, why don't we still stay on social tokens, but why don't we bring in Mel and see if she has any points on any of these tokens that we discussed, any topic, anything she wants to talk about social tokens in general. So let's bring her into the chat. Let me introduce Mel. Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll take it from there. Glad to bring you here though, Mel.
Thank you, Giovanni, and hi, Andre, as well. Hi, everyone. My name is Mel. I am a poet in the space, but I'm also a facilitator for the African NFT community. I've been a part of Web3 for about 2 years now as an active participant, and I'm just glad to be here to be a part of the discussion with you guys.
Yeah, great. We're glad to bring you on board here. I mean, I remember going to it was New York NFT NYC, and seeing the African NFT community talk, and I thought they were doing some great stuff. And I said I needed to reach out to someone, and we wanted to bring someone on board to talk more about it. And we're just happy that you responded. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff in the space, but we're glad to have you here. Before we start getting into the interview section, though, we since we're still on social tokens, and we wanted to know, what are your thoughts on social tokens? Did any of these social tokens that Andre discussed today, any of them interest you? We're gonna have this more as like an open discussion on social tokens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think social tokens are very interesting, and I'm more interested in like the future use cases. So as you mentioned with like ApeCoin, right, having this entry point that's a lower barrier to entry than purchasing the NFT or something like that, that allows people to be a part of this really robust ecosystem. I think that's really smart on the part of Bored Ape Yacht Club, of course, and also the same thing that FWB is doing, where you can kind of buy in and get this access into these communities that are so, I mean, like you said earlier, like they are establishing a really deep culture within the Web3 space, and being able to have a piece of that and access to that, I think is very valuable. So social tokens kind of have that really amazing use case thus far that we've seen. And I'm really interested to see how the network builds out as a lot of these like different DAOs or members of the Web3 space who drop their own coins, what it means to kind of be a holder of multiple different social tokens, and how that will kind of play out in the future as networks become bigger, and it becomes more important to be diversified in your interests in that way.
Great comments. Couldn't agree more. I think right now we're still figuring out a lot of what's going on in this market with social tokens, but that isn't to say that we're not seeing what can be done with, and the three that we mentioned, which is ApeCoin, Friends with Benefits, and Bankless. I think it can give people three different perspectives of how social tokens can be utilized, because each of them are different in terms of their mission and what they're building. Andre, is there anything you wanted to add on to Mel's points on social tokens?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we are. I think this is just the initial phase, and we're gonna see more and more organizations and communities taking advantage of that. And I'm glad that Mel is here to speak a little bit about how she created, because it's a place where not everyone understands. Like there is a kind of knowledge gap, and hopefully we can help people that are watching us to feel that point.
Yeah. So why don't we get into it and talk about the African NFT community, Mel, specifically talking. Let's have an introduction of what the community is for people that are just hearing about it, and a little bit about your role and your involvement in it.
Yeah, of course. So the African NFT community formed a little over a year ago, and it was founded by two artists, Vintage Mozart and Dark Myths, who are both from continental Africa, from Zimbabwe and Ghana, respectively. And essentially, it was to provide a space for African artists to get onboarded into the space, get the same resources and education that seem to be ever present in the Western world, and also to help mitigate a lot of the issues that we face, depending on what country you are from in Africa. Crypto accessibility or getting the resources and information that is a lot easier to access for those of us who are in the West. It wasn't so easy for them. So African NFT community kind of founded around this idea of providing access to people who were kind of getting left behind in the shuffle, honestly.
I'm one of the things that, but before I just to add on to what you were saying, I'm pretty surprised at how willingness Africa has been to blockchain technology and its ability to experiment. And I think it's from what I'm hearing, they're more willing to experiment than other countries out there. So in your experience and what you're seeing out there, why is that the case? What are some of the reasons why you think Africa has been willing to create these types of DAOs, to be more willingness to be involved in the crypto industry? Because this is a big reason why I personally believe the success of the African NFT community, it has to be because of the willingness to be open-minded in Africa. So curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I am actually of the diaspora, so I'm Jamaican. So I don't want to speak for the entire continent when I say this, but in general, just like from a factual standpoint, Africa is is the largest emerging economy. It's the largest economy now, whether that's in the shadows or like in reality, based on resources and all these other things that they contribute to the rest of the world. And it's also, again, like I said, the biggest and largest emerging economy, also the largest crypto adopters based on rate. So basically, I think that a lot of the reason why we see a lot of continental Africans being so receptive to blockchain technology is because, for one, the continent itself does provide a lot of innovation, and we do see a lot of like engineers and stuff like that coming from the continent. And so I think they already had the mindset for it, where they are constantly evolving and innovating based on whatever's going on, whether it's the geopolitical climate or like the socioeconomic status of certain countries, that leads people to want to ideate and create different ways and different systems. And I think what blockchain technology provides for all of us is even more exciting for those who are in like non-Western countries, because they have governments and structures and things like that that weren't necessarily formed around their ideologies or their cultures and so being able to like start a DAO and create a movement around a cause that you appreciate, or to be an artist who sells internationally and things like that, I think is very exciting for continental Africans as well as Africans within the diaspora. Like I mentioned, I'm from the Caribbean as well, and this technology is very exciting for those of us who are in the Caribbean and who see an opportunity here to be a part of something and be a part of the innovation and the next iteration of what whether it's like companies and organizations are going to look like for us. And so I think with the African NFT community, we really find that NFTs are a great entry point to getting people into the broader Web3 if they happen to be unaware. But it's also just great to always target artists, because that's usually the people who are the early adopters of anything, are the people who are kind of on the fringes of society anyways, people who are already creating and ideating, and the innovators, so to speak.
Beautifully said, Mel. It's very encouraging to hear what can be done when people come together and are willing to be open-minded and to try new things, and the power of community. I have a friend in Ghana, and I've been trying to tell him to learn more about it. And I think I'm going to have to introduce you to after this call. Andre, I know you, before I start, I have another question. Andre just wanted to add something you wanted to add a point, Andre?
Yeah, another point, maybe Mel could comment as well, that in Africa, like if you compare the blockchain adoption of the population in US, in UK. It's around like 10 to 20% of the population. In Africa, it's around 30%. It's much more. And there are like a few reasons as well, like and there's a high inflation, and in some way blockchain technology and the coins helps to into that point. And the other, it's a lack of a developed capital market. So I think that it's a great condition for Africa, and I can see more and more DAOs and other types of projects growing in Africa as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mel, can you talk about some of the success stories? And when I say success, it's very broad, but it can be any from your view on success. Some of the stories that you in the African NFT community that people should hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say as a community, something I'm really proud of was our Paradise exhibition, which happened this past March for Women's History Month. It was curated by another facilitator, Abby Ayua, who's also an artist, and it was the first of its kind, an IRL and virtual exhibition for artists. It was entirely done, like I said, by Abby, and it was entirely Black women. And we also got CNN coverage, which was really exciting to kind of have that like Web 2 cosign. And that was something that probably would have been impossible to do just a year prior. Like last year in the space, we were still kind of scrounging for opportunities and looking for places where people of color or Black people in particular could kind of showcase their artwork. And so that was really exciting for us and a big milestone. Also, Giovanni, you mentioned like NFT NYC. This year was actually our second year. So we are our second consecutive year speaking at NFT NYC and being panelists. There are also like individual success stories that came out of our community. We have like the Afrojoids, which is a PFP done by a community member named Owo and his team. And they sold out and were able to, a part of their proceeds go to the Dream Chasers Academy, which is the first formal art school in Nigeria. And so the PFP itself sold out and did really well, and they're on to their next phase of things, but they were also able to build a school for these children in Nigeria, which was amazing to kind of see that process. There's also an artist named Moonsun Diamond who has done, super amazing things in the space since joining. And he recently displayed at Christie's, which was huge for us. Then the Mona Lana PFP, which is again, another amazing project that came out of our community that was done by Lana Danina, who's an artist. And I think they're at like a nearly like 200 ETH trade volume right now. It's something insane like that. But those are just a few exciting examples of things that have come out of our community thus far. I would actually be here all day if I had to rattle off everything, but we're super, super proud of what we've been able to achieve as a community, as well as individually as artists, since we all are creatives.
Love to hear that. I would definitely going to have to ask you to email me some of these names so I can make sure to highlight them and when we create the content to make sure to showcase it. To ask another question, staying on this topic, onboarding for the African NFT community, curious, were there difficulties in the onboarding process, bringing new members? What has this been like, if that makes sense? Because I feel what we've been hearing is that DAOs can be a very difficult onboarding process for new members. That we had an interview a couple of weeks ago about that. So we'd love to hear it from your perspective of, has there been difficulties in onboarding new members? And if so, what in particular is the African NFT community doing to alleviate this problem?
Yeah, that's a great question. There certainly has been a few hiccups when it comes to onboarding because, again, the initiative behind our community is to get people into the Web3 space, and that entry point is NFTs generally. And so we first have to onboard people into NFTs first. And then after they're comfortable and settled, then we're kind of bringing them into the DAO space and what it means to be a DAO and all the things that come along with that. And so I guess our biggest hurdle has kind of been, like with onboarding, has been just getting people to make that NFT to DAO transition, or to kind of bring them further into Web3, so to speak. And understanding that when it comes to being a DAO, like it is an active participation kind of thing, and it is like everyone gets a voice. I think people aren't used to being parts of organizations where they get like an equal vote, or they get a say, or they can kind of bring something to the table and have it be executed if they're willing to put in the work as well. And so a big part of what we do, even within our onboarding now, is we're just kind of always making it super clear and super transparent exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, and letting people know that they can join in literally at any point in the start to finish process. And so yeah, I guess the way that we're alleviating that is just letting people know that it's okay to join in, and then making sure that they have the resources and education that we do about DAOs and about structure and about everything that we're doing. So like as we're building out our tokenomics, for example, we're being sure to communicate that to our community, so that way they at least have an understanding, and then at least have a place to go and look at these resources, provided that they want to kind of take the next step in and become a facilitator, or, do admin work in this way or that way. And so, yeah, since we're still in our early stages, I guess we'll see how well or how differently that becomes as like we get bigger. But for now, it's been working. And I think that people are more enthusiastic and excited about this DAO transition that we made, now that they kind of feel like they're being brought along for the ride, as opposed to just having to join in and not really understand what a DAO even is. I hope that answers your question. Oh, I think you're on mute too.
It happens every to add, just to dive a little bit deeper, could you maybe give a tip on how do you encourage participation into the DAO as well? Like, what are ways to make people want to get more involved? Because sometimes people join a DAO and they're overwhelmed, and then they're like, I'm just gonna be an onlooker. But how do you get people to go in, participate, and vote? That's something I personally would like to know as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so I'll hold off on the voting. I'll leave that for last, because that I think is like the golden question that a lot of DAOs are asking right now. How do we get people to like participate in the snapshot votes and everything like that? But in general, just participation. I say the most important thing is like capturing value and capturing excitement. And so once someone expresses that they are excited about this thing or that thing, like jumping on and being like, hey, like fostering that, saying, yeah, that's so cool that you're interested in this. Here are all the details of what's going on. Like, what is it that you'd like to see for this? Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any opinions? Just bringing them in based on whatever it is they're excited about and whatever it is that they're interested in. I think that's a great way of turning someone from like a lurker per se into a contributor, is like finding their interest point. If they have an interest in like something specific, just kind of fitting them in that way, or giving them the opportunity to extending a hand in that way. When it comes to votes, we haven't kind of gotten to that point yet where we need people to be voting on everything and active participation in that way. But that in the other organizations I'm a part of does prove to be kind of a challenge, kind of having voter turnout. But yeah, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of maybe mitigate that issue in the same way that we've been doing with the other issues, which is just open communication and being very, very clear with our community that, hey, your opinion matters here. And the only way to kind of have this thing progress in a way that will benefit you is by participating and being an active contributor to how we're building it.
Thank you for that. Andre, before we shift a little bit, is there anything you want to touch upon on the African NFT community? Any questions?
Yeah, I like your approach, like to get people involved. But how do you see, like, because this is pretty hard. Like all DAOs, they have a community, they are managed that, and this is challenging because in general, not everybody are gonna contribute, and how do you guys see that? Like, okay, is it fine that you're gonna have a significant amount of people that are not gonna be contributing, or is that something that, oh no, I'm gonna remove those people that are not contributing? How do you play with that?
Yeah. So for us, it's absolutely fine if everyone isn't able to contribute or doesn't want to contribute, because just going back to like why we even started in the first place, we kind of just want to be this springboard and this bridge for people. And so if they want to come in and kind of take the resources and information and opportunities and have that be it, that's absolutely okay. The entire, I guess, motivation behind becoming a DAO is that we have become so robust, and we do serve continental Africa, which on its own is huge. And then the diaspora as well, which is even more huge, for lack of a better word. But that's a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds with a lot of different ideas and a lot to contribute. And so we want to make sure that, again, to go back to capturing value, that we're able to utilize the resources of our own community and say, like, if you guys are well versed in this topic or another, like, please feel free to contribute, and please feel free to kind of elevate yourself within the community as well, and kind of be a part of things. And we hope that by being a DAO, we can better serve the interests of our community. As it is so large, it's going to be hard for a small group of people to determine what's best for everyone. And so by having votes, by having this like transparent discourse about everything, it allows for people to kind of throw in their opinions and like give us perspectives that maybe we wouldn't have considered prior. And so, yeah, we're not kicking anyone out who doesn't like vote or who doesn't contribute to the DAO itself. But it really is important that that door remains open for everyone to join in.
Yeah, I like this approach because many people, they don't join because they feel that they are going to need to spend a lot of time, it's time consuming. But actually we should position that actually those communities are a place to get help, so that you can learn, you can be a better artist, you can be an entrepreneur about what you're building. And if you want to contribute, that is fine, but it's not something that is asked for you. That's pretty nice way of engage with them.
Well, let's first off, again, what's going on at the African NFT community is great. It's another way to demonstrate the different types of DAOs out there and what they can be doing. And I like I mentioned, it caught my eye at NFT NYC, and I'm really impressed at the rapid, I guess it's what you would call it, rapid growth in the past for how long has it been? When did you guys start?
Yeah, we started of like June last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm
May,
saying.
June, yeah.
The DAOs, the growth of DAOs, it's really going to be a great case study. If granted, DAOs are here to stay, and I think they are personally, but it's going to be a great case study to see in terms of what can be done with a DAO. So let's switch gears, and we'll still stay on the DAO and the Web3 community aspect of it, but I want to take a comment that I see we have, and it talks about, it goes for you, Mel. It says, how did you find a Web3 community nuance to your interest and work?
That is an excellent question. So I tell the story a lot, and so my intro into Web3 was Clubhouse rooms, listening to people talk about the different things that were going on. And I very intentionally curated my own bias. And so anytime someone spoke about something that interested me, whether it was poetry, whether it was using this technology for art, or like for marginalized communities, or like decentralized finance, or like community liberation, or any of these things that I'm so interested in, right? I would just follow them and then start conversations there. And so that was kind of like on an individual one-on-one way how I started building out this kind of network. And then obviously in that time, all these people have done amazing things, have started their own groups, have started their own DAOs, have their own initiatives. And so I have these pockets and these communities that I can tap into where I know that there's like mindsets, so there at least is a common thread. But I would say now, for anyone who might be looking to get into Web3 and kind of find community, I would say, yeah, pick the things that you're interested in, and look for people who are talking about these things, who are doing these things. If you're looking for like a DAO, you can go on like DAO Match and just type in your interest set, and then it should pull up. I mean, I don't think it has every single DAO ever, but it has a pretty large list. It'll pull up something in relation to what you're interested in. Follow people, like whether it's on Twitter or Twitter. Follow people who are like doing the things that you're interested in, who are talking about the things that you're interested in. But for me, it definitely was a very intentional process of speaking to people and having these open discussions, and asking them where they were and where they were getting their information, what they were doing within the Web3 space, and just curating my community based on that. So yeah, definitely through conversation and through just research, honestly.
And it looks like the person also asked to add on to your response. So do you feel it's better to float around between communities than putting all your eggs in one basket?
I guess that would depend on what you're looking to get out of it, or what your intent is. I think that there is more than enough, time and energy to go around to kind of be in all these different communities. I like being in these different places to represent the different interest sets that I have. But if you are looking to, I don't know, maybe build something from the ground up, then you'd probably be spending a lot more time in that one area than you are in other places. But I think there's a lot of value in diversifying your communities and diversifying your interests, because there's so much going on, and you're very likely to find multiple organizations who are doing the same thing, or who have the same mission or the same ethos. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say don't limit yourself to just being in one place at one time, because there are so many innovations going on. And again, we talk a lot about like how like fast Web3 moves. But yeah, things kind of are progressing at a pace. And so get to know people, be in different communities, be in different spaces, and listen to people who even have like adverse opinions to yours, because again, there's so much to learn from one another. And so I would say, yes, diversify. But if you're looking for like maybe a return, then yeah, maybe invest a little bit more energy into something that you're really passionate about. But there's a lot of value to be had in being in different communities and meeting different people.
Just want to say thank you to Samantha Scalar for the question, and Mel, thank you for that response. I want to personally add on to that question, to your response. I mean, in terms of finding that community and saying floating around, there's another thing we should mention is the idea of getting involved in that community and then figuring out how to get involved, contribute. And I think can also be a difficult way to navigate in my experience as well. When I join a lot of these I buy an NFT, get into the community. Whether it's through Discord or the Twitter chats, there's just so much going on, and it's hard to filter. I'm a content creator, filmmaker, so I have been finding my way to contribute through my content creation and creating my own stories with the NFT. But it's been difficult to it's still very difficult to find your niche. So my question is, how do you find a way to contribute to an NFT community or even a DAO in particular? What are some tips you can give to people that want to contribute but are either afraid or don't know how to?
That's a great question. And yeah, it's going to vary DAO to DAO, because that's actually something that I think a lot of DAOs are reflecting on, is how easy is it for people to kind of transfer lurkers into contributors? How easy is it for people to just jump in and get involved? And then, like you were saying, Giovanni, like the discords are daunting at times, especially when you jump in and things are already active. And so I guess what I would recommend is to also be active. Even like, what is it, like fake it till you make it? Just jump in and pretend that you've been there and you're doing it. So just be like, hey, what's up with this? Like, do you, like, you see something that's maybe it's a bounty, or do you see an idea tossed in? Whatever you're interested in, latch onto that. In the same way that, like I said, as somebody who's like a facilitator at a DAO, we're looking for people who are interested in things. Do the same thing on the other side. If you see something that interests you, like you were mentioning, whether it's a film or something like that, then jump in to that talking point, jump into that discussion. If that's not easy, because it's not always possible, I would say speak to somebody who is already contributing. So if you're in a DAO and you see someone's name, you see Mel go by in the chat quite a lot, reach out to that person, say, oh, at Mel, like, I'd love to talk to you about da 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 da. And then hopefully you get a response. Like, just be, and I know it's easier said than done, actually, because I've also been the one who's joining DAOs and trying to find my way in. And so if those two avenues are proving just a bit unsuccessful, then I would reach out to, most DAOs usually have like some type of info page or something where they tell you about like the community manager and all these different people's names. I would reach out to the community manager directly and say, hey, like, I am super interested in being involved. I have this and this and this background, and I would like to do X, Y, and Z. Or if you don't have a specific thing you want to do, just let them know that like you're available and you have a bit of time each week and you'd love to be a contributor to the DAO. Is there a place where you can begin contributing? And so if those three things are not going super well, then I would consider also that this DAO might not have the best onboarding structure for getting people to contribute, whether it's they're too busy, there's a lot going on, or things are getting lost in the shuffle. And so I would kind of just let those hooks sit there and then begin trying to contribute somewhere else, because sometimes it is just on the facilitators end not being able to respond, not being able to keep up and things like that. And so you don't want to sit there and just be like harping on it too long. So yeah, definitely do diversify and then go into other DAOs and try to contribute there. But yeah, just being active hopefully will get you your in.
Thank you. Great response. Andre, do you have anything to add before I switch topics?
Yeah, though let's see if I'm. Yeah, I think those are really valid points around like just going to the community, just play around. I like it, like how you started like by with like Clubhouse group chats, and then you start understanding. And I'm more curious, like if you would be like your day one today, where would you start?
Ooh. That is a great question. If today was my day one, I would start on Twitter Spaces. So in the same way that Clubhouse allowed me to kind of take a back seat and also see the people who were, navigating these moving parts. I was able to like click on profiles and get to know what people were doing and what they were interested in. I think that's what Twitter Spaces has become. You get to listen to people talk. And if you think that you like their ideology or you like something that they were talking about, you have that easy access point to reach out, whether it's through a DM or just going to their page and hitting follow. But you're passively able to get a lot of information just by listening to people talk, right? Obviously, you want to, use discernment and understand that like they are just people talking. So in everything, do your own research. But I would definitely jump onto Twitter Spaces, I think, and just probably meet people there. I think crypto Twitter is super, super active, and it's the best place to be at this point to get knowledge or to build a network.
Great question, by the way. I just got a text message saying that is a great question to ask. Thanks, Andre, for that one. So, Mel, I want to give you your chance also to speak about your art and your poetry, because that's another, as I like to say, you can go down a rabbit hole with poetry and blockchain and how that's playing out. But I want to talk about, I wrote some notes. I want to let you just speak more about your poetry, your art, and how you're utilizing both in this space.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the opportunity. So I've always been a writer and a poet. And so when I joined NFTs, actually, I was in the midst of writing my very first poetry collection, and I was going to publish it self-published traditionally. And then I was like, well, blockchain's a thing. And I felt that kind of excitement, I think, that people feel when they're able to kind of immortalize a thing. And I was like, I think being digital made a lot more sense to me than to be printing physical copies of books and shipping them and doing all the things. And so that was my start. But yeah, I think that the blockchain has provided a really unique opportunity in NFTs for poets and writers to present their work as art. I think a lot of people don't see written word as a medium for art or as an art form. And with NFTs, we're kind of able to showcase a lot of what's going on in the poetry space and has been going on for a really long time, and to present it in the same discussion and in the same sphere as other art forms. Yeah, so it's really, really exciting. It's been exciting for me. It's been an amazing journey thus far, being able to, whether it's like be in exhibitions and things like that as a poet, I think that's completely shifted, my entire perception of what I could do with poetry and what I can do with my art. Like being in galleries next to like digital illustrations and things like that, it would not have been conceivable in the Web2 space or like in the traditional art space. And so, yeah, I'm super grateful for what NFTs have kind of afforded me the ability to do. And I also do like spoken word poetry. And so that's really exciting. It's been a journey being able to share that without having to be physically present. And so now with the blockchain, I can just, I can edit and do my spoken word pieces and put them up without having to necessarily go to a spoken word show or to like have to see people in real life or like film a video and do a YouTube or whatever it is. And so, yeah, I think this is just super, super exciting for poets, especially when it comes to visibility and having people engage meaningfully with our work.
So a question I have with the poetry and blockchain, and I went to the when I went to the conference, I made sure to attend the speakers, because I'm still having, I see, and I'm having a hard time seeing blockchain with a lot of art. It's not particularly just poetry. I can go on about film. I still can't see, I feel like it's being forced, but that's a topic for another time. With poetry, I guess we can start with, as a poet, why is someone that's completely new to the space and they're a poet and they're saying, and think of it from this perspective, why should I go and try to create NFTs for my poetry as opposed to just going the traditional way? So let's try to make when we talk about this, let's think about like the average poet, because I want to create this content in a way that the average poet can look at this and be like, you know what, I'm going to experiment that. So right off the bat, why I'm a new poet, why should I even consider getting involved in this? I got my own issues to deal with. This is too complicated for me.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so through the lens of being like a new poet and someone who's already in the traditional space, I would say if you are interested in reaching a broader audience and having distribution and having ownership and copyright in a way that is inherent and doesn't necessarily create issues for you along the line. I'm going to just segue off of that really quickly and talk about like my issue with sharing my writing prior to NFTs was always having your work stolen. I feel like written word isn't as respected, especially online. I mean, in the same way that people like save people's art and reuse it, with words, it's a lot harder to go back and say, well, I wrote that. That's my poem. That's my piece. And you took it and you put it and you did it a different thing with it. It's hard to go back and say, oh, okay, well, that's mine. Now you're just arguing with someone online. So yeah, just to go back to the point. So if you are a poet, if you are someone who's sharing your work online, who's distributing content, and you want, number one, to be in a space that is curated for art, that people are coming to and looking for artwork. They're looking for you to be creative. They're looking for you to share your stories or whatever it is that you're doing. The NFT space kind of provides that. Whereas within, again, the traditional art world, you have to kind of seek out these curated spaces. You have to go and look for an open mic. You have to go and look for a poetry night or this or that. Within NFTs, right, you already have that. At this point now, thankfully, we already have this niche where poets are existing and doing what they do. And you can go to this place that is built for artists, and you can display your art without having to figure out the like algorithm of this social platform and that social platform to make sure you're finding poets. You're not having to like hashtag all day and try and figure out like, where are the people who are interested in poetry? You just kind of, they're here. You go to the NFT space, you find me, you find like the NFT Poets Corner, you find like the crypto writers, which is another community, and you just exist and you say, okay, well, I have this work, and then you can engage meaningfully. You kind of already have people who are willing to support you, number one, and who are willing to help you to understand what's going on within these spaces. And so that was a big perk for me. And then off of that, I would also say that another added benefit of is, like I talked about, the ownership and the rights that come with being a creator on the blockchain. You have this record, this digital ledger, you have the blockchain that says that you created this thing at this time. And so it is its own like inherent copyright system. Now, if obviously you are a malicious actor or something like that, and somebody were to mint words that were not theirs or something like that, that then becomes a traditional Web 2 problem, and that will be handled in that way. But for me, like publishing my book was the reason why I wanted to publish a book instead of publishing or like just doing poetry on like Instagram like I was doing before, was because I wanted to make sure that these things that were so important to me, that felt like they were a part of me, were being respected, and that they would be respected in perpetuity. You know what I mean? If it was immortalized in a book, I felt like people respect that. People respect copyright. They respect, you know, the fact that you composed something and edited it and like published it and whatever. I found that same respect on chain. And I think the blockchain allows artists to, again, continue to retain ownership of their things, these things that are so important to us, and to present them in a way that is, how do I say, like, it's curated for the way we want to present ourselves. Like I said, if you are a poet and you are in the traditional space, or at least in my experience, you're going out and you're seeking out these events where other people are being like, okay, yeah, go do your poetry. And you might go up there and the mic might not be working, or you might be like shoved in like a little corner, or just a lot of horror stories that like myself and my friends have experienced in being poets who are going IRL and doing these things. It's not always comfortable. You're not always presenting your work in its best light, and you're not always able to control how, like what the room is. You might be doing open mic in a bar and people are drinking and they don't really care about the fact that you're standing up there doing spoken word poetry. And so it feels different to present to an audience that is ready to receive you, that is open to receiving you, and having your own little niche little space where you can present your work, you can retain ownership of your work, and you can present it in its best light. Hopefully that's enough to convince any poets out there. But yeah, I think that for me was like monumental and a perspective shift for sure.
That is how you pitch something, I'll tell you that. No, great. That was great. I wanna ask another question. So say now you sold me, I'm hooked. Now I'll have a project. And this is a question that I just received. What is the best way that you found to format poetry to then mint it onto the blockchain? Because that's a whole other thing that poets now need to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is there are a lot of options. I like to remind people that the NFT space allows for freedom of creativity. So you can literally do anything you want to do, any kind of formatting. You don't necessarily have to do your line breaks if that's not your style. I've seen people sell just like block text. I've seen people do the line breaks. I've seen people sell like just a few words, like recently I published a haiku. You know what I mean? You can do anything that you really want to do. So I don't want to limit anyone when I answer this question. But what I will say is be mindful of like your file types, right? So I know that like on Zora, they allow you to mint .txt files, and that was revolutionary for me. And then which is because it's just the letters, the words, that's all it is. But with that, you don't get to format it. And so if formatting is important to you as it is to me, then that might not be the medium for you. That might not be the file type for you. When I published my poetry collection, I published it as a PDF, and I did that on the Tezos blockchain because they allow for that. And a lot of other platforms, especially like on Ethereum, don't necessarily do PDF. And so that was important to me. So I found as a poet, retain your style, whatever it is, whether it is you like to format it a certain particular way. I think poetry advocates and people who are looking to purchase poetry are not as concerned with formatting. I think that's more of like an art style and a personal choice as a poet. And so go with your gut, go with your style. I would be more cognizant of your file types. Like if you're going to make it a picture like a JPEG or a PNG, then yeah, you do your own formatting, you put it up. Same thing with like PDF and all those other things. But if you are minting as a .txt file, you won't get that opportunity to format. But there is other value in minting .txt files and having your actual words on chain. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I can't answer that question for you. I think that formatting should be up to the artist. I haven't seen any bias with collectors like wanting to favor one format style over another. So go crazy and yeah, have fun with it, honestly.
Awesome. Can't wait to take a look at this content after and really put this together, because I think there's a lot of stuff to digest in creativity and in this space and poetry. Thank you, Mel, for the full, just giving us this knowledge, this wisdom that you could share with us. So as we get to, we're wrapping up. We're getting to what I like to call the end, is the reflection period. So I know I have a couple of questions. Andre might have a last question. What I want to ask is, in your whole time here, and we'll call it Web3, the NFT community, what is the biggest lesson you've learned?
The biggest lesson I've learned, it's going to sound a bit silly, but like having fun should be at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And when I say having fun, I don't mean like not taking yourself like seriously and not doing your best, but I mean understanding that this technology is so new and that there is so much room to innovate and ideate and create, that if you're someone like me who is like super structured and organized and loves when things just make sense and fall in line, I think that you might come in following a formula or wanting to follow a formula, when in reality there are so many other potentials out there. There are so many conversations to be had about new things and opportunities to try new things. And you as an individual come with your own unique perspective, and that will become important to the space. You might become a Web3 builder or somebody who comes up with a super cool idea that no one else has thought of. And so I would say, like, having an open mind and having fun has been the biggest lesson for me, and understanding that I can read as many articles and I can study as much as I want, but in the doing and in the being a part of this space, that's kind of where the magic happens, honestly.
Beautifully said. Andre, any question you want to, last question?
I would like more like how maybe Giovanni, if you could share to people like her Twitter account, like the resources, more like this if people want to find more information That would be not a question. It's more like how can we find that, and if you can provide after.
Yeah, of course. So I just changed my name. Hopefully it shows up, but I'm at HerbalTGYAL on socials. And please reach out, especially if you're a poet. Like, please reach out, or if you're an artist, of course. I work with the African NFT community as well. We'd be happy to share resources or anything that you may need in terms of like onboarding or information. And so, yeah, at HerbalTGal on all socials, and the African NFT community. We are also the African NFT Club, CLUB, on Twitter. But I'll be happy to like share that information with you guys, and I'll retweet everything onto my Twitter. But yeah, that's where to find me.
Awesome.
Great. Well, we're at a wrap, and I just want to say, Mel, it has been a pleasure to speak with you. You are so smart, well-spoken, knowledgeable. I had a great time talking about these topics. I couldn't express enough. So I just want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me, Andre, Giovanni. It's been a pleasure, and thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was so nice to hear from you, to hear and to learn a little bit. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And if I can say one last thing in regards to the African NFT community, if you guys are wanting to become a part of what we're doing, or if you just want to help out, we are in the midst of our crowdfund on Mirror. And so that link will be on our ANC African NFT page. I'll also retweet it. But as we build our tokenomic structure, we are including the tokens that are coming from the crowdfund. So if you donate, you do get distributed a token, and that will become a part of our tokenomic structure. And so you do get added incentive and perks within our community later down the line. But in general, if you want to support, that's up there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mel.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.